The House will come to order. Members will be at their seats. The clerk has opened the roll, and you may record your presence. Please rise and give your attention to our guest chaplain, Dr. Holmes, Wanamaker Woods Church of the Nazarene, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Representative Vic Miller.
Let us pray. Dear Father, we come before you today with a spirit of purpose and steadfastness. We thank you for these leaders you've placed in positions of authority and responsibility. Their task is difficult at times, so we ask that you grant them the wisdom and strength to navigate through these times of debate and decision-making. We pray for their ability to work together, to find common ground, to put the needs of the people they serve above their personal interests. Help them, Lord, to listen to one another with open hearts and minds, and approach each issue with respect and understanding. Grant them the courage to make difficult decisions, even when those decisions may be unpopular. Help them remain steadfast in their commitment to justice, fairness, and a common good. We also pray for their health and well-being, and for those separated from their families and loved ones because of their assignment. We would ask you to come alongside them and remind them that they are loved and appreciated for their sacrifice. The burdens these representatives carry can at times be heavy, and so we ask that you give them the strength to carry on, as well as to find moments of rest and rejuvenation. We'd be remiss in not lifting our chaplain, Eunice Brubaker, to you and ask for your presence to be very near her as she fights this cancer which is attacking her body. May your strength and healing power pour into her body and spirit. Finally, we ask that you remind these gathered here of the importance of their work and the impact they have on the lives of so many. May they be inspired by their sense of duty and service, and may their efforts be blessed with success. We offer these prayers in the mighty name of Jesus Christ and pray your goodness upon each one present. Amen.
The United States of America, to the power which stands, one nation, indivisible.
Has every member had the opportunity to record their presence? The clerk will close the roll and record the attendance. Not in front of the dais. The Speaker recognizes Representative Dodson and Carlin on a point of personal privilege.
It's getting to be a regular routine.
All right, well, good morning. Our pleasure to be here again. And if there are any Manhattan High graduates please come on down. We've got a couple with us already.
Who's here?
All right, well, we're here today to recognize this great Manhattan football team's championship season. This was culminated in being crowned Kansas State champions for Division 6A, our biggest division. This team had 13 wins and no losses with 8 regular season wins, and then kind of an unprecedented run of 5-game playoffs. I would like to recognize my seatmate. This game was one of the best games that we've had for a long time. This game went right down to the final play on an extra point try by Gardner Edgerton. Another great example of a great team here in the state of Kansas. And I will ask my fellow representative to introduce the team.
Thank you, Representative Dodson. I'll start with the athletic director, Mike Marsh, down here in the end, went to school with my kids. Joe Schartz, head coach, there you are. Adam O'Neill, assistant coach, down there. Okay, and players, we'll start with DeAndre Auckland. Raise your hand, I don't know, there you go. Then I can move on. Ben Irvin. Okay, just tell me when they're done. Okay, Jackson Bowles. McCoy Link. Nate Chandler. Kehlani Patterson. Cole Coonrod. That's hard to say. Jason Sanchez. Dre Delort. Keenan Schartz. Braxton Fry. Luke Schmidt. Tyler Hogenkamp. Jackson Vikander. Tate Hoover. And Rowdy Watson. Thank you for being here today and congratulations to a great team.
Okay, well, just kind of like we did yesterday, one of the most important lessons we can learn in life is the value of teamwork. This is usually well recognized in sports, but it's something equally true in my profession for 37 years in the Army. Teamwork is probably the most important element that we can learn. Each of these team members must rely on the actions of one another. I know when I was a young boy, when we grew up, we all were in a small town together. That's absolutely invaluable when you get to team sports because you each know what the other is going to do. And that's true here. All these young men grew up together in Manhattan, were brought together by great coaches. So these teammates have come together to form a team, known each other for a long time, competed together and been on the field together and off the field doing many of the same things. These coaches have led them through rigorous training, provided emotional strength to them, and I can attest their parents and all the supporters there in Manhattan have given them some great strength. And this is how a great team is built, what it takes to achieve victory over some other very high quality teams. So the people of Kansas are very proud of your accomplishments and your sportsmanship. You established a lasting legacy for yourselves, your school, and your community. The entire membership of the Kansas House extends its pride in your significant achievement. Please join me in a round of applause for this great championship team. And Mr. Speaker, I ask that our words be spread across the journal.
Without objection, so ordered. The Speaker recognizes Representative Essex on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Olathe delegation please join me up front? All right, today we are joined by 4 remarkable leaders in our Olathe Chamber of Commerce. Please wave when I say your name. We have Tim McKee, CEO, Oscar Healy, Board Chair, Susie Carson, Vice President, Membership and Investments, and Jim Bradford, Director of Communications. We are excited to celebrate with you today. The Olathe Chamber was incorporated on March 23 of 1923. Long time ago, with just 132 members that year. Olathe and the Chamber have grown a lot since then. Now we're a town of more than 151,000 people, with the Chamber now at more than 1,200 members, and today we celebrate their 100th anniversary. The Olathe Chamber of Commerce has a 5-star accreditation from the U.S. Chamber. They are the largest chamber in Johnson County and the 2nd largest in the KC area. Smart Asset ranked Olathe as one of the safest and most livable mid-sized cities in the U.S. Military Times ranked Olathe among the top places for veterans to live, and USA Today ranked Olathe as one of the 50 best cities to live in. The Olathe Chamber of Commerce is the connector, the advocate, and the voice that makes Olathe an award-winning city. It is evident as you see our businesses booming, the housing market soaring, and the skyline of our downtown rapidly growing and changing. Over the last 4 years, the Olathe Chamber's Economic Development Council has helped bring in and retain nearly 6,000 jobs, created more than 3.7 million square feet of new or existing space, and brought in a total investment of more than $630 million. Wow. Olathe is setting the economic development records, and the best is yet to come. This is one of the many reasons why we are Olathe proud. Thank you to the Olathe Chamber for leading the way. Please join me in congratulating the Olathe Chamber of Commerce for their 100th anniversary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I request that my words be spread across the journal.
Without objection, so ordered. The Speaker recognizes Representative Thomas on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Colleagues, as we close out Music in Our Schools Month, it is an honor to have the group behind me here as they hold a special place in my heart and the hearts of many others all over Kansas and all over the country. Since 1993, the Olathe Youth Symphony has bloomed into what few could even imagine. What started as a few brilliant minds and a wild idea sitting around in dear Mrs. Peters' living room has now turned into an amazing program, allowing hundreds, if not thousands of students from all walks of life all over Olathe to have a chance to do something more with their talents. The hard work and dedication of the directors with us here today and the willingness to give up their own time to ensure every kid has a chance to play music in all capacities is more than just admirable. I would say it is heroic and inspirational. I cherished every rehearsal myself, every concert, every moment of my time in the symphony, just as many others did and currently do. Today, along with many of the past and current Olathe Youth Symphony Association members who are watching this live or sitting in the gallery with us, you all deserve to be honored for your service to our schools and to our students. You have changed lives. You've made lasting impacts on so many, and the state of Kansas honors you and congratulates you as we celebrate this, the 30th anniversary of the Olathe Youth Symphony Association. Directors, please raise your hand as I call your name. Rochelle Jones, Danny Call, Randy Dietrich. You'll hold that for me. Now, today also marks another 30-year milestone. The first time I picked up a viola at Heritage Elementary and began playing music under the direction of Mr. Greg Ferguson. Starting in a tiny little room in the lower level of the school with about 7 or 8 of us, We watched as the program grew year after year because of his dedication. Not long after that, a bigger room was needed to house the number of students getting involved in the orchestra. He was more than just an orchestra director to students like myself and many others. We didn't see it back then, however, we have grown to realize it now. In 8th grade, I was auditioning for a National Honor Choir and practiced after school to get ready. Mr. Ferguson came to the room, listened, offered his take, and at the time I wasn't sure why, and now I know. That was him showing his care, as he did for many years for thousands of other students. His care for us to be successful, not only in orchestra, in life, whatever direction we decided to go. He took us to state competitions. We went on a trip to Dallas. He always worked selflessly, working to make sure we kept music alive in our hearts. I could tell you many more stories about this man if I had the time, but I don't. This year, as he heads toward retirement, realizing his amazing contributions to our schools, and more importantly, to the lives of so many students, we wanted to simply say thank you. As we stand here, there are hundreds watching this live stream as we celebrate your life and how you've touched so many with your gifts. There are also folks who made the trip up to the Capitol today to come honor you in person and celebrate your achievements. At this time, I would invite anyone sitting in the gallery who played music under the direction of Mr. Greg Ferguson to stand and wave. Mr. Ferguson, take in this moment and realize, while yes, many students like me will take credit for some of the gray hairs, the stress, the increased blood pressure after all you put up with me for 8 years, no one deserves more credit than you for providing many of us a lifetime of loving music and the desire to make you proud. We love you and we wish you the best in your retirement. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I ask that my remarks be spread across the journal.
Without objection, so ordered. Messages from the Senate, the clerk will read.
Announcing passage of House Bills 2197, 2262, and 2332. Announcing passage of House Bill 2015 as amended, 2020 as amended, 2065 as amended, 2089 as amended, and 2090 as amended. The Senate non-concurs in House amendments to House Substitute for Senate Bill 229 requests a conference as appointing Senators Billinger, Clays, and Petty as conferees on the part of the Senate, and announcing substitute for Senate Bill 155. Substitute for Senate Bill number 155 by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act making concerning appropriations for the fiscal years ending June 30th, 2023, June 30th, 2024, June 30th, 2025, and June 30th, 2026 for state agencies. Authorizing certain transfers, capital improvement projects, and fees, imposing certain restrictions, limitations, directing or authorizing certain receipts, disbursements, procedures, and acts incidental to the foregoing, and the substitute bill be passed.
The Speaker recognizes the Majority Leader for a motion to accede.
Mr. Speaker, the Senate did not concur in the House amendments to House Substitute for Senate Bill 229. I move the House accede to the request of the Senate and that a conference committee be appointed.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. As conferees on part of the House, the Speaker appoints Representatives Wassinger, Blake Carpenter, and Stogstill. Introduction of original motions and House resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Resolution number 6019 by Representative O'Hobson. A resolution recognizing Storytime Village Incorporated for its work in giving young Kansas children the opportunity for a better future through its literacy programs. Whereas according to the Annie E. Casey Foundation, children who are proficient in reading by the end of third grade are more likely to graduate from high school and be economically successful in adulthood. Whereas a 2022 study conducted by the Annie E. Casey Kids Count Data Center revealed that 64% of white, 83% of Hispanic, and 85% of Black fourth graders in Kansas scored below the proficient reading level, whereas many underserved populations in Kansas are lacking the quality literacy skills essential for future success in school and life. Whereas Storytime Village Incorporated, under the leadership of founder and CEO Priska Barnes, has been working since 2009 to help Kansas children, beginning at birth through age 8, thrive through partnerships that provide early childhood development, family engagement involving reading, access to books, advocacy, and awareness. Whereas with the support of parents and the help of many dedicated volunteers, Storytime Village Incorporated inspires children to read, regardless of their socioeconomic background, race, or gender, by providing them free books and literacy resources. Whereas in 2016, Storytime Village launched their Literacy Champions program, a high school leadership program that empowers and inspires students to volunteer and gain leadership skills as they impact the literacy issue in their communities. Whereas March 23, 2023 is designated the 6th Annual Literacy Day at the Capitol, which will address the literacy achievement gap in Kansas by focusing on early literacy and mobilizing high school students to raise their voices through meetings with legislators, panel discussions, advocacy workshop with the theme, Right from the Start, Helping Our Youngest Thrive Through Literacy. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the State of Kansas that we recognize Storytime Village for its work in giving young Kansas children the opportunity for a better future through its literacy programs.
On H.R. 6019, the Speaker recognizes Representative Ohabisam for a motion to adopt the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I would like for all my colleagues who actually support literacy, if they want to come join us up here at the well for us to recognize this resolution, to do so at this time. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. This year marks Storytime's 6th Annual Literacy Day at the Capitol. The event is sponsored by Healthy Blue of Kansas. Joining Priska Barnes, founder and CEO of Storytime Village, for this impactful day are Alexa Scott, Tasha Hayes, Chantel Grissom, okay. Mario Barnes, who's actually a future-ready advocate at USD 259. He's actually in the back, y'all. Storytime Village Literacy Champions, Delana Reed Moore, Carmen Davis, and Cheney Pilps. The theme for Literacy Day at the Capitol is Right from the Start, Helping Our Youngest Thrive Through Literacy, and will address the early literacy achievement gap in the state of Kansas by mobilizing high school students to rise to their voices and bring awareness to this critical issue. The day will feature literacy discussions, workshops, and opportunities to network and discuss these important issues with state leaders. The mission of Storytime Village Incorporated, with the support of parents and the community, is to inspire a lifelong love of reading for underserved Kansas children from birth to age 8. Since its beginning in 2009, Storytime Village has worked to help the youngest in our communities thrive through partnerships that provide early childhood development, family engagement around reading, and access to books. I do have some members in the gallery and also members of the Kappa Leagues who are here. If you can please stand. They're in the gallery to be recognized. You want to comment? And with that, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I'll ask for my remarks to be spread across the journal.
So 2 seconds. So I need a motion from you first.
Sorry. I would like I move to adopt HR 6019.
Favorably?
Oh, yeah, favorably for passage.
All right, you've all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion carries. And without objection, remarks will be spread across the journal, and it's so ordered. Final action on bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Substitute for Senate Bill number 113 by the Committee on K-12 Education Budget. An act concerning education, making concerning appropriations for the fiscal years ending June 30, 2023 through June 30, 2025 for State Department of Education, establishing the Mental Health Intervention Team Program and state statute, providing incentives for coordination between school districts and community health centers, creating the Mental Health Intervention Team Program Fund in each school district, authorizing certain students to participate in activities that are regulated by the Kansas State High School Activities Association, authorizing certain non-public school students who enroll part-time in a school district to participate in non-public school activities, requiring each school district to post certain enrollment and academic information on the school district's website, authorizing any student with a parent or guardian employed by a school district to enroll in and attend such school district without entering the school district's open seat lottery process, requiring consideration of homelessness when determining enrollment status of a student under the school district open enrollment procedures, authorizing members of school district boards of education to receive compensation from the school district for work and duties performed, authorizing the use of current year student enrollment to determine state foundation aid under the Kansas School Equity and Enhancement Act, continuing the 20 mil statewide levy for schools, increasing the number of school districts that qualify to finance a cost of living weighting, and increasing the maximum amount of such weighting.
This constitutes final action on Senate Bill 113. The clerk will open the roll, and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? For an explanation, the speaker recognizes Representative Fairchild.
Mr. Speaker, I vote no on House Substitute for Senate Bill 113. This bill increases spending by somewhere around $600 million over a 2-year period, and it increases spending beyond what's required by the Gannon decision by somewhere around $30 million. I don't believe this level of spending is going to be sustainable over the long run. Additionally, I disagree with the provision of the bill that authorizes school districts to pay school board members, and I don't believe that it's necessary to requires districts to post curriculum online. Representative Fairchild.
Any further explanation of votes? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Underhill votes no. Any further changes? Seeing none, with 75 having voted in favor and 48 against the passage of Senate Bill 113, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Clerk will read.
House Bill number 2436 by the Committee on Appropriations, an act concerning environmental, social, and governance criteria involve public contracts and investments, enacting the Kansas Public Investments and Contract Protection Act, prohibiting the state or a political subdivision from giving preferential treatment to or discriminating against companies based on environmental, social, and governance criteria in procuring or letting contracts, requiring fiduciaries of the Kansas Public Employees Retirement System to act solely in the financial interests of participants and beneficiaries of the system, restricting state agencies from adopting environmental, social, and governance criteria, or requiring any person business to operate in accordance with such criteria, providing for enforcement of such act by the Attorney General, indemnifying the Kansas Public Employees Retirement System with respect to actions taken in compliance with this act.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2436. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? For an explanation, Representative Murphy.
Mr. Speaker, I vote yes on House Bill 2436 only to move forward in working to secure the rights of Kansas citizens and businesses from the dangers of the ESG restrictions on the free market. It's boycotting of our industries and agriculture. I call for a resolution directing the legislature to continue to seek for solutions to protect the rights of Kansans today and for future generations. Representatives Murphy, Garber, Will Carpenter, Mason, Humphreys, Hill, Tarwater, Williams, Blue, Jacobs, Sutton, Mosier, Younger, Riley, Schmoy, Howell, Pickert, Roth, Bloom, Hoffman, Eric Smith, Stewart, Corbett, Ellis, Howerton, Donahue, Hauser, Lewis, Beeler, Underhill, and several others.
Body, as a reminder, please print your names and then sign your names on explanations of votes. Thank you, body. Are there any further explanation of votes? Seeing none. Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Middleton votes no. Any further changes? Seeing none, with 85 having voted in favor and 38 against the passage of House Bill 2436, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. The Speaker recognizes Majority Leader Croft for a motion to resolve into the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the purpose of considering those items under the heading of General Orders.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion carries. The Speaker appoints Representative Blue to chair the Committee of the Whole.
Good morning, body. It's my first standing ovation of the year. First item of business is Senate Bill 208. For purposes of carrying Senate Bill 208, the chair recognizes Representative Proctor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were committee amendments. I move the adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes and the committee report is adopted. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise before the body to present House Substitute for Senate Bill 208, an act relating to the Governmental Ethics Commission establishing a 5-year statute of limitations for complaints, modifying the commission's subpoena powers, allowing respondents to have a hearing transferred before a presiding officer under the Kansas Administrative Procedures Act. Kansas Governmental Ethics Commission regulates the fundamental right of free speech. Please make no mistake about that. U.S. Supreme Court ruled in 2010 in Citizens United versus Federal Elections Commission that money spent on political speech is itself political speech. Kansas Campaign Finance Act regulates this money as well as compelling speech by forcing PACs, political parties, and candidates to put attribution statements on their literature and prohibiting speech and free association by limiting communications between candidates and PACs. As it's currently written, the Campaign Finance Act empowers the Kansas Governmental Ethics Commission to act as the cop, prosecutor, judge, jury, and executioner in campaign finance cases. This inherently jeopardizes the due process rights of respondents with cases before the commission. How can the commission act as an impartial judge and jury if they're also the body investigating, charging, and prosecuting respondents? A matter this serious deserves more scrutiny, not less. A matter this serious needs very deliberate safeguards to make sure Kansans' fundamental rights to speech are protected, and Kansans are afforded due process during investigations and proceedings before the commission. House Substitute for Senate Bill 208 begins to address this problem. There's been a great deal of media and social media rancor throughout the development of this bill. I'd like to publicly commend the proponents, the executive director of the Kansas Governmental Ethics Commission, and the chief of staff for the governor for working through all the misinformation and recriminations about this bill to arrive at this compromise we're hearing today. This bill does a number of important things to restore due process protections for those subject to the Campaign Finance Act. For investigative subpoenas, the bill lowers the threshold and the number of commissioners needed to approve a subpoena from 3/4 or 7 commissioners from the current law to 2/3, and removes the requirement in current law that all the commissioners be physically present. However, it requires court involvement prior to serving the subpoena to recipients. This inserts a judge in the process to ensure that the subpoenas the commission issues are legally sufficient, reasonable, and of proper scope. This bill creates a 5-year statute of limitations for actions before the commission, bringing civil actions online with criminal actions under the Campaign Finance Act. This bill also prohibits the commission from requiring respondents to waive civil or legal rights as a condition of consent order or final order. The bill requires the commission to adopt rules and regulations creating standards for when commissioners must recuse themselves from matters before the commission. Currently, at least 25% of the commission's funding comes from fines it imposes, creating an appearance that there's a profit motive for their findings. This bill raises PAC fees for larger PACs with the objective of making the commission fee-funded rather than fine-funded to address this appearance. This bill puts in statute what is currently just a rule of thumb, permissible uses of campaign finance funds. And among other things, it clarifies that payments of campaign or political staff is allowed if the payment does not exceed fair market value of services, and allows payment of civil fines assessed against the candidates or campaign agents and legal fees related to investigations or actions under the Campaign Finance Act. This bill requires a 2/3 vote of the commission to find probable cause and make a complaint public, and also allows respondents to request evidentiary hearings held before the Office of Administrative Hearings instead of the commission. The commission would still issue the final findings. Finally, this bill caps the fines at triple the amount of the fine for one count, but allows for a higher fine if a respondent derived financial gain from a violation under the Campaign Finance Act. It also prohibits the committee from requiring community service as an alternative to fines, reducing the potential for disparity in treatment between respondents. This does not prohibit the commission from ordering training on compliance with the Campaign Finance Act. Nearly all of the definitional changes that caused all the media furor over this bill have been removed from this bill. The only definition that remains is the refined definition of agent This term is currently undefined in the Campaign Finance Act, creating ambiguity. As a compromise with the executive director of the commission, the definition does include unpaid volunteers who are authorized to act on behalf of the principal and does not require written authorization for a person to be considered an agent. Many of you received multiple emails from a prominent political consultant in opposition to this bill, and I'd like to take just a moment to address his concerns. First, this bill is not retroactive. It will have no impact on the matters currently being investigated by the commission. Second, to his objection that the definition of an agent, this language was accepted by the executive director of the KGEC because it includes unpaid volunteers if they are authorized to make decisions for a candidate. Concerning his issues with the fine caps, the executive director also agreed to this measure because it went from double the amount in the original bill to triple the amount and added the potential for higher fines if there was financial gain derived from the violation. The accusation that we're defunding the commission, sending fines to the SGF rather than the commission, this is an essential element of this bill. The commission must, in order to avoid the appearance of impropriety, have no financial interest in finding a respondent guilty. And finally, the compromise reached with the executive director was that PAC fees would increase to offset this reliance, so there should be no loss of funding. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll stand for questions.
For discussion on the bill, the chair recognizes Representative Woodard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Body, the carrier of the bill did an excellent job explaining what's in it. We had a long journey from what the bill started out as to where we've gotten today. So I want to commend the chair, the committee, the proponents, the opponents for getting something that we can all kind of get on board with. This is the third version of the bill, and so I'm glad to have one that I can vote for. The initial bill would have allowed me to buy a sports car for a campaign volunteer, and now you can't do that, which, unless they work so hard that their market value has allowed for that. It would have allowed for giving in the name of another several other provisions that I was very uncomfortable with. So I want to commend everyone and all the parties that came together to get something that we can work on, and then also hopefully an interim commission where we can focus on other issues. So with that, I want to thank everyone that came to the table, and I will leave it to the wisdom of the body for this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair.
Is there further discussion? The chair recognizes Representative Vic Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would the carrier yield to a question? And before you do, I want to add my sincere congratulations to an excellent presentation today of both the bill and addressing some of those remaining issues. When this bill came across, it was a monster. And I think it now fits the classic definition of a gut and go. Would you agree?
I guess, yeah, technically that's what it is. We removed the contents of a bill that you probably wouldn't like and put the contents of 2391 in it with the compromise language.
Well, there's no probably about it for me. I didn't like 208. And I, again, appreciate what's been done. And my congratulations, not just to you, but all the people who were involved in making the current version acceptable. There was a lot of effort that went on, and all are to be commended. But here's one concern I have, and I'm going to ask you a question that you may need to yield to others, and I do not know the answer. It's not a gotcha question. If and when the Senate does not agree to our amendments and the matter goes to conference, are the original contents of 208 conferenceable?
Well, I would think that since the contents did pass one house of the legislature, they would be they would be conference.
Now I'm going to ask you a question that you don't have to answer, but it's important to me in knowing what I'm going to do on the bill as we currently are looking at. Will you give us a solemn commitment that you will fight to protect 208 in its current version and vigorously oppose including those provisions that came across?
Yeah, I will give you my solemn commitment. This bill was hard fought. Not everybody got what they wanted. Not everybody likes everything in it, but all the parties agreed to it, and I respect all the work they did enough to fight to keep the language the way it is.
And I accept that completely. Thank you for that commitment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, Representative Proctor, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to take one more opportunity to thank everybody who worked so hard on this negotiated settlement. I especially want to thank the members on both sides of the aisle of the Elections Committee. We voted on this bill 3 separate times to get to where we're at, and I very much appreciate all their hard work on this. And with that, Madam Chair, I move that when the body rises to report, it reports House substitute for Senate Bill 208 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Proctor to report Senate Bill 208 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. The next item of business is Senate Bill 15. For the purposes of carrying Senate Bill 15, the chair recognizes Representative Collins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were committee amendments, so I move the adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor of signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes and the committee report is adopted. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 15 is an anti-fraud measure proposed by the Kansas Insurance Department. Concerns agents who fail to pay insurance premiums to an insurance company. And in statute KSA 40-247, it specifically outlines that there is a written demand required from the insurance company to the agent demanding the premium be paid. The contract between the agent and the insurance company will already outline how premiums are to be paid to the company. As this is a mirror bill to House Bill 2097, which I also carried earlier in the session. And currently now, there's a requirement that insurance companies send a written demand to an agent if that agent has not forwarded the premiums to the company. And there's a possibility that maybe the company doesn't even know. If the agent filled out all the paperwork and kept the money, the company wouldn't even know that there was a policy written. So this bill would do away with that requirement and make it much easier to prosecute the people who may be committing insurance fraud. And with that, I stand for questions.
For discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Neighbor.
The carrier of the bill did an excellent job of describing what is in the bill to you. Hopefully, we can prevent fraud and people from thinking that they have insurance that they don't have. So this is really a protection for all Kansans. It was originally, as the previous speaker spoke, House Bill 2097, and I would ask for your support. Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Carmichael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A question for my friend the carrier, if I might. I think you did indicate to us that this is a mirror of a House bill, and my recollection is that I think I know I voted for it, and I think everybody else voted for it, as far as I remember. What did the Senate do with the legislation that we sent them?
Uh, Actually, the original House bill, passed 39-0 in the Senate and 117-7 in the House, and I have no idea what happened to it when it got over there.
So the bill that we passed here went to the Senate, and it was passed unanimously in the Senate. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that is my information.
And it was a mirror bill, in other words, essentially the same bill. So it's already been passed by both houses. So my question is, why are we voting on it again?
I'm not at liberty to say that because I have no idea.
Thank you, Representative. And I'm not at liberty to say because I have no idea either. But this is the way shenanigans happen, you see. You pass a bill in both houses, and then you get a Senate bill, and you bring it over here, and you pass it again. And I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know if there's some procedural way to somehow turn this into something else someday. But I've already voted for this once, and the representative tells me that it's passed the Senate, so I'm not going to vote for it again. I don't know about you, but not me. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Representative Neighbor for a second time.
In the committee, we made a change on publication. We felt that it was important to look at the effective date, and so our last change, and because we amended it, it is why it's before you today, and we amended it to say upon publication in the Kansas Register instead of the Kansas statute book, and so that is why it is back with us and why I would ask for your support. Thank you, Thank you, Madam Chair.
The chair recognizes Representative Carmichael for a second time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, that concerns me even more because now we've passed two different bills on the same topic. And I don't know how you reconcile those. We go through something called reconciliation at the end of the session where we make statute numbers match for things that we've amended or changed during the session. But passing the same legislation twice with two different effective dates? That's another reason I'm going to vote against this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Representative Collins, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to clarify, I have been notified that the bill that was passed 39-0 in the Senate was not House Bill 2097. It was this bill, Senate Bill 15. And with that, Madam Chair, I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports Senate Bill 15 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Collins to report Senate Bill 15 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. Next item of business is Senate Bill 18. For the purposes of carrying Senate Bill 18, the chair recognizes Representative Howerton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were committee amendments. I move the adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. The committee report is adopted. Please continue.
Okay, Senate Bill 18 is a measure proposed by the Kansas Insurance Department that concerns certain penalties and violations of insurance law. These include monetary penalties, license suspensions and revocations, and other penalties for legal entities that violate Kansas insurance statutes or Chapter 40. Subsection 1 defines the term person as several entities that are currently under the jurisdiction of the Kansas Insurance Commissioner, including health maintenance organizations, insurance companies, etc. Over time, via the legislature, additional entries entities have fallen under the jurisdiction of the department that have inadvertently not been added to this definition. Some of these include, but aren't limited to, continuing care providers, utilization review organization, pharmacy benefit managers, et cetera. These and others have not been added to the list, a matter of oversight. Adding the language and any other legal entity under the jurisdiction of the commissioner cleans up the statute and eliminates the need to continuously update this every time the legislature adds new entities to the department's purview. With that, I will stand for questions.
For discussion on the bill, the chair recognizes Representative Neighbor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This also had a companion bill in the House, and it was House Bill 2098, if you want to check your voting record on that. The carrier of the bill did an excellent job of explaining what is in the bill, and I would ask for your support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For further discussion on the bill, the chair recognizes Representative Carmichael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I may be a fool, but I'm not totally naive. This is how the bill bundling process gets started. You pass the same bill, different bill numbers, then you have something called a shell laying around. The next thing you know, your constituents are asking you what happened to House Bill 2206. And you start looking and you say, well, nothing happened. And then you find out later that it passed as Senate Bill something else. I mean, I think that's probably what's going on here. I don't know what's going on here. But unless we have a clear explanation as to why we're wasting our time passing the same bills twice and only creating confusion in the legislative process, I can't support this idea. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For a second time, the chair recognizes Representative Neighbor.
Thank you, Body. The previous speaker was correct. This is about bundling and freeing up shell bills. So I'll leave you with that.
Is there further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Representative Howerton, you may close.
Madam Chair, I move that when the body rises to report, they report Senate Bill 18 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Howerton to report Senate Bill 18 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. Next item of business is Senate Bill 28. For the purposes of carrying Senate Bill 28, the chair recognizes Representative Underhill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were amendments in committee, so I move to adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes and the committee report is adopted. You may continue.
Senate Bill 28 as amended answers the age-old riddle, how many funds could a fee fund fund if a fee fund could refund? This tongue twister of a bill is a mirror of House Bill 2093 with one amendment to update the publication date. That way the Commissioner of Insurance could get to work quicker. But what Senate Bill 28 does is it repeals the group funded pools fee fund and the group funded workers' compensation pools fee fund. The two funds are funded by assessments imposed by the Kansas Insurance Department and are meant to cover the cost of administration and oversight over the pools, chiefly to cover the cost of examination. These costs are essentially already covered through other facets, and the assessment has not been imposed since 2015. Commissioner Vicki Schmidt has not seen the need to impose this assessment. The group-funded pools refund fund will be established and refund $153,247 from the other two funds to 17 pools that are operating in Kansas. And with this, I'll stand for questions.
For discussion on the bill, the chair recognizes Representative Neighbor.
The carrier of the bill did an excellent job, and his pronunciation of the fee fund and the workers' compensation fund and the fee fund. If you want to say that 3 times, please feel free. It's an experience, but this is a very good bill. It does return money of about $153,247 to insurance agents, and I think they would appreciate that. So anyway, I would ask for your support. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sure the person following me has a question about the validity, but that's okay.
For further discussion on the bill, the chair recognizes Representative Carmichael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've voted for this bill once. Ditto. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Representative Underhill, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when the body rises to report, that they report Senate Bill 28 favorably for passage.
You have heard the motion by Representative Underhill to report Senate Bill 28 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. The next item of business is Senate Bill 106. For purposes of carrying Senate Bill 106, the chair recognizes Representative Essex.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were committee amendments. I move the adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes and the committee report is adopted. You may continue.
All right, this is bill brief for Senate Bill 106. It passed in Senate final action 38-0. There are 2 components to this, and I'll make sure and explain both of them. The intent and purpose of this bill is, as amended, it would amend the Uniform Act regulating traffic on highways to add law to prohibit counterfeit airbags and amend law to authorize certain ground effect lighting on vehicles. So the first issue we resolved is the airbag bill would create the crime of knowingly or intentionally manufacturing, importing, distributing, selling, offering for sale, installing, or reinstalling a device intended to replace a supplemental restraint system component in a vehicle if the device is counterfeit, a non-functional airbag, or an object not designed in accordance with federal safety regulations for the make, model, and year of the vehicle. The second part of this bill would also authorize equipping a motor vehicle with any type of ground lighting effect rather than just what is now stated in statute is neon. I wanted to make sure and explain this piece. Currently, the technology for underground lighting on vehicles was basically the neon tubes that you've probably seen. Nothing has changed in this law or statute except for they're adding LED. It's new technology, so just to bring this bill up to date. So nothing's changed in the law or the statute, just it still can't be seen. The bulbs can't be seen underneath the car, whether it's neon or the new technology LED. There were 6 proponents for this. There were no opponents and no neutrals. The Department of Transportation indicates enactment of this bill would increase revenue for the Traffic Records Enhancement Fund and the Seatbelt Safety Fund from fines collected under this new infraction. Any increase is expected to be negligible. I stand for questions.
For discussion on the bill, the chair recognizes Susan Ruiz.
It's nice to say, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. And will the carrier of the bill please come for questions? Stand for questions, I mean? On the second part regarding the underglow, the lighting under the cars, I just wanted to make sure there were several people that had some questions about, there's so much art to cars nowadays with the lighting and the paint and everything. And I'm very familiar with lowrider cars, and there's a big lowrider club in Olathe that I know about. So just wanted to make sure that they can still do the underglow in the car as long as it's not any shade of red. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll answer that question real quick. It does not change anything. And the reason the red is in statute as not allowed is because it'd be confused for emergency vehicles.
Do you know if pink is considered a shade of red? Because there's some cars that use some awesome pinks in the underglow, so I need to know.
I'm with you. I would like that myself.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
As far as testimony from the Sheriff's Department in Johnson County, red was the only color that
Okay.
was shared.
Okay, that sounds good. No other color, every other color is fine?
Yep.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For further discussion on the bill, the chair recognizes Representative Ballard.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. All right, so you know there's two bills, 106 and 143. And it doesn't seem that there's much concern really about the counterfeit airbags. We know that it's creating a new crime for knowingly or intentionally importing, manufacturing, distributing, selling, or installing a supplemental system. And basically, in October of 2012, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration issued a consumer advisory alerting vehicle owners and repair professionals to the dangers of those counterfeit airbags and their prevalence in the marketplace. Since then, a coalition of automakers, dealers, insurers, law enforcement professionals, safety advisors, and other stakeholders have worked together to enact legislation which prohibits the installation or the reinstallation of airbags that do not meet federal safety standards in 30 states. That is why we are doing ours as well. As far as the halo effect or the underground lighting, the only thing that we have changed is removing the neon from existing law. And continuing law says, again, as you heard, you cannot use flashing red. In some of the other states, they can't use blue because blue in their state is also emergency. So, but for us, it is red. I think this is a good bill. It's up to us to decide if we want this in our communities and whether or not it affects the kind of things people have doing before. But as long as you're in compliance with the law, and again, it says any shade of red and not flashing, and we know about strobes and the different lights, then I think it's up to us. The whole idea is safety and just being within the law as well. So I would ask you to vote your conscience on this one. I am comfortable. We discussed it enough. In fact, I think we beat up on it a little bit. So with that, I would say, vote your conscience on 106 that has Senate Bill 143 contained as well. Thank you.
For further discussion on the bill, the chair recognizes Representative Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask the bringer of the bill a question, if I could. Just a question with respect to, are these cars, or does this also include 18-wheelers? As the owner of a trucking company, I'm concerned because, we have lights under the trailer of 18-wheelers, and there will consistently be those lights under the trailer of those vehicles that come in from out of state, out of town. How does that work with those particular vehicles?
From what I understand, and I might ask if this doesn't answer your question, this is specifically referring to neon tubes underground or underneath lighting. I know semis have, at the bottom, they have lighting that go all the way around. This is installed underneath the vehicle. And as far as I understand, it would not include that. Let me ask my chair just to make sure.
Thank you.
Hold on just a moment.
Just two now.
So this does not do anything different for 18-wheelers right now. It's the current statute. Everything's the same. All we're doing is adding, it was neon lighting that was the technology back then. We're just saying underground lighting in general to incorporate all the technology. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Representative Essex, you may close.
Madam Chair, I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports HB 106 favorably for passage.
You have heard the motion by Representative Essex to report Senate Bill 106 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. This concludes general orders. The chair recognizes the majority leader.
Madam Chair, I move we rise and report.
You've heard the motion to rise and report. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
The clerk will read the committee report.
Mr. Speaker, your committee, the whole recommends House Substitute for Senate Bill 208 be passed. Senate Bills 15, 18, 28, 106 be passed as amended.
The speaker recognizes Representative Blue for a motion to adopt the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the adoption of the committee of the whole report.
You've all heard the motion to adopt the committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye. All that are opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. The speaker recognizes Representative Croft for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to House Rule 2311, I move that emergency be declared and that House Substitute for Senate Bill 208, Senate Bill 15, Senate Bill 18, Senate Bill 28, Senate Bill 106 be advanced to that order of business, final action on bills and concurrent resolutions.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Final action on bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Substitute for Senate Bill number 208 by the Committee on Elections, an act concerning campaign finance relating to the Governmental Ethics Commission, modifying the investigatory and enforcement powers thereof and the schedule of registration fees for political committees, expanding the list of allowable expenditures from contribution.
This constitutes final action on Senate Bill 208. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Okay. Has every member had the opportunity? Yes, has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? Clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Seeing none, with 119 having voted in favor and 3 against the passage of Senate Bill 208, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, clerk will read.
Senate Bill number 15 by the Committee on Financial Institutions and Insurance, an act concerning insurance relating to penalties, failure of agents or brokers to pay premiums, removing the requirement of a documented written demand for premiums as part of a prima facie case.
This constitutes final action on Senate Bill 15. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Delperdang votes no. Are there any further changes? Seeing none, with 104 having voted in favor and 18 against the passage of Senate Bill 15, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, clerk will read.
Senate Bill number 18 by the Committee on Financial Institutions and Insurance, an act concerning insurance relating to insurance laws and enforcement thereof, adding certain legal entities to the definition of person.
This constitutes final action on Senate Bill 18. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Seeing none, with 104 having voted in favor and 18 against the passage of Senate Bill 18, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, clerk will read.
Senate Bill number 28 by the Committee on Financial Institutions and Insurance, an act concerning insurance relating to certain group-funded insurance pools, discontinuing payments paid to the group-funded pools fee fund and the group-funded workers' compensation fee fund, transferring such balances and abolishing such funds, establishing the group-funded pools refund fund, refunding the balance thereof, and abolishing such fund on July 1, 2024.
This constitutes final action on Senate Bill 28. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record the vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Seeing none, with 106 having voted in favor and 16 against the passage of Senate Bill 28, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action, clerk will read.
Senate Bill number 106 by the Committee on Transportation, an act concerning motor vehicles relating to uniform regulating traffic on highways, creating the crime of knowingly or intentionally manufacturing, importing, distributing, selling, offering for sale, installing, or reinstalling counterfeit supplemental restraint system components and non-functional airbags, and providing for criminal penalties for violations thereof, expanding permitted lighting equipment on vehicles to include all ground effect lighting.
This constitutes final action on Senate Bill 106. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had the opportunity to record the vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Representative Carmichael for an explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I reluctantly vote yes on SB 106. It is important that we outlaw counterfeit airbags. It may cost people's lives if we don't do so. But the second portion of this bill is very unfortunate. I think all of us know who this is directed at. It's directed at people with alternative lifestyles, perhaps people who are younger than most of us, perhaps people who aren't white like me. And I believe that the principal proponent of this bill will use what we've just done to make pretextual stops and to engage in discriminatory law enforcement based upon, is this red, is this orange, is this some other color? And I think the color of the driver's skin will prove determinative. I therefore still yet vote yes on SB 106. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, yes.
Are there any further explanation of votes? Seeing no explanation of votes, does any member desire to change their vote? Representative Woodard votes no. Representative Riley votes no. Representative Meyer votes no. Representative Susan Ruiz votes no. Representative Silas Miller votes no. Representative Sawyer votes no. Representative Clayton votes no. Representative Alcala votes no. Representative Carr votes no. Representative Luis Ruiz votes no. Representative Hoagland votes no. Representative Martinez votes no. Representative Featherston votes no. Representative Schlingensieben votes no. Representative Stogstill votes no. Representative Carlin votes no. Representative Nguyen votes no. Representative Ohabisam votes no. Representative Melton votes no. Any further changes of votes? Seeing none, with 99 having voted in favor and 23 against the passage of Senate Bill 106, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Reports of standing committees, the clerk will read.
Committee on Appropriations recommends Senate Bill 2449 be passed. Committee on Health and Human Services recommends Senate Bill 96 be amended by substituting a new bill to be designated as House substitute for Senate Bill number 96 as follows. An act concerning the Department of Health and Environment relating to licensure of child care facilities, daycare homes, and child care centers, establishing license capacity and staff-to-child ratios, reducing license fees and training requirements, creating a process for daycare facility licensees to apply for a temporary waiver of certain statutory requirements, authorizing the Secretary of Health and Environment to develop and operate pilot programs to increase child care facility availability and capacity, and the substitute bill be passed. Committee on Taxation recommends Senate Bill 8 be amended. The bill be passed as amended. Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources recommends Senate Bill 120 be passed. Committee on Financial Institutions and Pensions recommends Senate Bill 34 be amended. The bill be passed as amended. Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications recommends Senate Bill 49 be passed. Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 75 be amended, and the bill be passed as amended. Committee on Calendar and Printing recommends on requests for resolutions and certificates that requests by Representatives Thomas, Concanon, Ellis, Lewis, Underhill, Schreiber, Thompson, Blue, Miller, Jacobs, White, Carlin, Probst, Haswood, Eric Smith, Sutton, Collins, Alcala, Silas Miller, Heiberger, Bloom, Garber, Roth, and Essex and Woodard be approved, and the Chief Clerk of the House be directed to order the printing of said certificates and the drafting of said resolutions.
The Speaker recognizes the Majority Leader to adopt the calendar and printing report.
Mr. Speaker, I move adoption of the calendar and printing report.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The motion carries. Are there announcements? Representative Jacobs will replace Representative Parshall on the House Committee on Education on March 23rd. This appointment will expire at the end of the day on March 23rd. Representative Howerton will replace Representative Wassinger on the House Committee on Taxation on March 23rd. This appointment will expire at the end of the day on March 23rd. For further announcements, the Speaker recognizes Representative Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Democrats, we do have Thursday Summit in our regular room 152 South. So if you could come down as soon as possible, we do have lunch provided. And I know our guest speaker is downstairs waiting as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
The Speaker recognizes Representative Berquist.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Local government will meet at the rail to approve a couple of sets of minutes. Please meet me at the rail after the meeting.
Speaker recognizes Representative Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to thank everybody for their support, and a number of people have asked about signing on to the explanation of vote. I have no problem if anybody wants to sign on here afterwards. Thank you.
The Speaker recognizes Representative Auerkamp.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a quick reminder to the Welfare Reform Committee, we have a different room today. We'll be meeting at 1:30 in room 346 South, the old Supreme Court room. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, the Speaker recognizes the Majority Leader for a motion to adjourn.
Applicants on Monday at 8:30 will calendar an 346 South, not an 8. Mr. Speaker, I move the House adjourn until Friday, March 24th at 8:30 a.m. pro forma.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.